Throughout the history of agriculture, there have been many pests which have threatened farmers' crops, from beetles and caterpillars to bacteria and viruses. Each threat has been met with some form of control method to limit its impact on our food sources, until now. The brown marmorated stink bug is very resistant to any kind of control measures that we put into place. This stink bug seems to be everywhere. It may seem like merely a household pest, but it's more than that. It's reaping havoc on agricultural crops and causing crop loss in states across the United States. The brown marmorated stink bug was accidentally introduced into the United States in the mid-1990s, possibly as a stowaway in a shipping container. This bug is native to East Asia, including China, Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. It was discovered for the first time in 1998 in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Because the population has grown dramatically, and the bug can hitchhike easily on anything, it's difficult to determine exactly how far they've spread. The numbers on the map on the screen indicate that as of 2013, the stink bug has spread to 41 states in the United States and also parts of Canada. The map depicts different levels of which this has been detected. It looks like the dark brown color in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey indicates that there are severe agricultural problems associated with the stink bug and nuisance problems as well. The lighter orange color depicted for New York, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, and also Washington and Oregon indicates that there are agriculture and nuisance problems as well. Areas in which this stink bug is considered a nuisance are in the New England states, in Michigan, Indiana, and California. You can tell by the dates on the right side of the screen that this stink bug has spread quickly throughout the United States. In 2009, it was in 15 states, and a year later it was found in 26 states, an increase of 9 states. In 2011 in 34 states, and as I mentioned, currently it's in over 41 states. So the stink bug attacks crops looking for sugar. They use their long needle-like mouth, called a stylet, to suck out the juice out of the plant. They're not picky eaters. They enjoy a wide variety of food crops, including grapes, apples, hazelnuts, peaches, pears, nectarines, apricots, cherries, plums, blueberries, raspberries, eggplant, lima beans, okra, pepper, snap beans, sweet corn, and tomatoes. Their preferred treat is sweet corn, and we're definitely seeing impact with damage to corn crops in the eastern coast area. These bugs also enjoy soybeans as well as cotton. So this is a picture of the stink bug inserting its stylet into a tomato. So why does this matter? Well, by themselves, the stink bugs don't make the fruit inedible, nor do they infect it. However, when they poke their nose under the skin of the fruit, the stink bug introduces a yeast which will start to eat the sugar inside the fruit, making a small cavity. You can tell by this picture of this pear that there's cavities along the surface of it compared to this healthy pear that was not impacted by the stink bug. The bug injects a small amount of saliva into the fruit as well. Because the saliva is toxic to the plant cells, the damaged fruit develops a scar as it grows. So it basically disfigures the fruit and makes it look poor in appearance. There's a link in the bottom right corner for a video about the brown marmorated stink bug. I've placed this video as a short video in D2L under content for this week's lecture, so please be sure to watch the short video about the stink bug. And this picture helps depict impact of the stink bug on tomatoes. You can see small little discolorations in the surface skin of the tomato based on where the stink bug had bit into the tomato to feed on it. So, cost to farmers? Well, they're definitely doing damage to our crops. Just for the apple crops in the year 2010, it was estimated that over $37 million of crops were lost because of stink bugs infecting and feeding on those crops. According to Greg Creswick, a tree fruit entomologist at Penn State's Research Center in Biglerville, Adams County, Pennsylvania, says that fruit loses visual appeal. Stink bugs destroy the looks of the crop. Apples that might sell for $1.50 a pound at a farmer's market or a grocery store will be sold and processed for a tenth of that price if they're disfigured by stink bugs. They'll be lucky to get even 15 cents a pound for the apples. As indicated, in 2010, over $37 million worth of damage to apples was done in Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland. So, as the stink bug population increases and continues to spread, the damage to our food crops and economic impact on our farmers will increase proportionally. So when we have pests, we always try to figure out ways to resolve the problem associated with it. This chart just shows a real quick rundown of some possible approaches that we could use. Physical traps are one way, and the pros is that there's no negative impact on the environment, but the cons are that the bugs might not even be drawn into that trap. Integrated pest management or biological controls, like using another species as like a wasp to attack and kill the stink bug, is another possible approach. The pro is that you have to find a species that only attacks stink bugs, but there are many different species of stink bugs, including some that are beneficial and native. So the problem with this is that this one predator, from an integrated waste management standpoint, could eliminate other beneficial stink bugs. We could do it with an approach using a chemical, dinotefuran. It kills stink bugs on contact, but it also kills honeybees, which are important pollinators. So you can see there's not a perfect solution at this time for the eradication of the brown marmorated stink bug in the United States, but research is continuing. So let's shift gears and look at the honeybee population. Now, honeybees are not an invasive species. I've been talking about invasive species so far. Honeybees are a native species, and we rely upon them for pollination of our crops. I have placed this YouTube link in the D2L content folder for this week. It's a trailer for the 2009 documentary titled Vanishing of the Bees. I highly recommend that you watch the trailer, and then there is an extra credit opportunity in the course, which will be announced at a later date, for you to watch this video in its entirety and take notes and submit it. So this video is a really good video that helps give a better understanding in regards to what's going on with the honeybee population here in the United States. This diagram below on the left corner indicates that 1 out of every 3 bites of food that we consume are pollinated by honeybees primarily and other pollinators. So what's going on with the honeybee? In 2006-2007, the collapse of the honeybee colonies around the country caught scientists' attention. The crisis became most apparent in 2006, when beekeepers around the United States noticed a decline of their hives, on average losing 1/3 of the hives. In some cases, the loss was as high as 90%. 36% of the bee colonies collapsed in the United States in 2008. In 2009, an additional 29% of the bee colonies collapsed. So we were seeing a trend in the honeybee population over those couple of years. How does this affect plant and animal diversity? Well, 85% of the plants would not exist if it weren't for bees. The reason is because of their pollination. Fruits, vegetables, grains that are used to feed cattle are pollinated by bees. And humans rely on these bees for 90 different food crops, including fruits and veggies such as apples, broccoli, blueberries, pears, onions, celery, and much more. In addition, alternative dairy products like soy milk and almond milk would be impacted because the honeybee population is declining. So this is a huge problem that we need to look into and get an understanding of what's happening in regards to the honeybee population decline. So this is a map depicting that the loss of bee colonies is taking place across the United States. A loss of 15% of hives is considered acceptable. But when looking at this map, you'll see that the United States has experienced a 31% loss of commercial hives and as high as a 78% loss of hives during some winter times. Again, bees keep commercial agriculture productive and any agriculture productive. Without the honeybees, we wouldn't be able to feed our livestock, produce the number of fruits and nuts that we produce, and obviously we wouldn't have honey. So the honeybee contributes billions of dollars to our United States crop production. And this is data from 2014 to 2015. You'll notice some of the states that experienced the greatest total annual loss are in the darker color oranges. Pennsylvania is included with that. And then the lighter colors indicate a lesser loss. I just mentioned the black marmorated stink bug impacting crops, and now we have this in Pennsylvania specifically, and now we're seeing a 60% loss just in 1 year in honeybee pollination and hives in Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania's agriculture is something definitely to be concerned with, and recognizing that it's got different stresses on its commercial industry, not only from the stink bug, but from the honeybee as well. So this is just another graphic that is depicting the population decline or honeybee loss of hives from 2006 to 2016. The green color is what's indicated as acceptable winter loss. The orange color is total winter loss, or the yellow color, total winter loss. And the orange color is total annual loss. So, the gray color is like what we would typically expect to lose over winter time frame, and that stays somewhat consistent throughout the years that are depicted on here. The yellow color indicates total winter loss. So again, we saw a larger loss in 2007-2008, which brought this to research scientists' attention, and it's declined in some years and then increased again. The total annual loss is definitely showing an increasing trend over the years. In terms of the amount of hives lost, in 1947, 6 million hives. In 1980, 4 million hives. In 2008, 2.4 million hives. So you can see that we've had a drastic decline in the number of hives since the 1950s. Almost half the hives have disappeared and are non-functioning. So this decline in honeybee population has been called the colony collapse disorder, or CCD. It's a pathological condition brought on by various stresses that leads to the abrupt disappearance of worker bees from the hive, leaving only the queen and the newly hatched bees behind, and thus causing the colony to stop functioning. A few other key terms here are listed, and I'm going to go over these. A monoculture refers to mainly having the same crop over a large area, and this happens by within our farming industry, where we're growing the same crop over a very large area. Neonicotinoids is a deadly form of pesticide that's been infecting many hives and causing deadly side effects spread throughout the entire hive. They cause the bees to have a weakened immune system, shortened adult life, impaired memory, disorientation, and the inability to forage for food. Penn State researchers have found that every batch of pollen that a honeybee collects has at least 6 detectable pesticides in every batch, including herbicides and fungicides. So the bees are actually getting exposed to this by feeding on the flowers and collecting pollen. The neonicotinoids, or the neonics, are the most alarming. Basically, the neonicotinoids are a seed-coated application that's used on many farms today, and other effects to the bees are that the bees become dizzy and disoriented, and they have trouble finding their way home. It also makes it hard for bees to pollinate plants when they're disoriented, and as I mentioned, it decreases their immune system. So this is one area that we definitely need to address, that the neonicotinoid pesticide use is having a direct impact on the bee colonies. The Varroa destructor mite is actually attaching itself to honeybees, and it's a parasite that feeds off the insect's blood. It's transmitting pathogens and suppresses the immune system of the honeybee, and it's causing problems with weakening the honeybee as a whole. The next short video lecture will continue discussing what's going on with the colony collapse disorder and honeybee populations throughout the United States.